No excuses with Michael DiLeonardo. I'm your host, RJ Roger. We're live. We're going to discuss the life and legacy and all things Jackie D'Amico. Michael, how you doing, brother?
Very good. Yeah, excellent. I hope everybody out there is doing well after the holidays. It's a great time. I always like holidays, and I'm sure everybody on here appreciates them also. It's time to get together and bond with family and friends. And as you get older, you appreciate holidays more and more because you ain't got too many in front of you. Most of them are behind you. So you got to enjoy what you have. But before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to a fellow from the neighborhood that reached out to me, Michael Bugliaro. I didn't know him that well, but he had a boy who was tragically killed in an accident last year. And I understand that he was a big fan of mine. I did not know it. And his father had just contacted me and asked if I could give him a shout out in remembrance. So here's to Michael Bugliaro Jr. May you rest in peace. He was too young. He was just a kid. So, we all have to be blessed going further. Just like Jackie passed away at 86. Lose him at any age. That's why you have to enjoy yourself and take hold of what you have and appreciate what you have because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Wow. So Michael, Jackie knows passed away. Before I got I asked everybody what questions they would like to ask you. You like to start off the show, and would you like to just first, before we begin getting questions, you want to say anything? Tell me what your thoughts are.
I think it'll mark a little bit of a closing of a door on an era with just one more person that's not with us anymore. And Jack would be part of that Gotti era. Before he hitched his wagons to Jack, or actually John picked Jack to hang out with him and made him a captain. Jack was a nondescript guy. He was just a guy. I'm not taking any importance away from him. He wasn't a guy that was known as a murderer. He wasn't known as a big junk guy. He wasn't in the public forum. He was a nondescript guy getting along under the radar in that life the way you're supposed to. He was thrust into the spotlight behind John's shadow, let's say, walking behind John. So Jackie became almost legendary in the newspapers. The newspapers built Jackie up pretty good. So go ahead. I'm right here for everybody to ask some questions. I have some things that I wrote down, some bullet points that I would like to say. I like to start out with one or two bullet points. There's these misconceptions about where Jack went to school. He went to school, whatever school he went to, whatever grade he went to, was in New York. It was not New Utrecht High School. It was not in Brooklyn. Jackie, I gave him a pet name, Christopher Columbus, at one time, because when he came to Brooklyn, he thought he found new land. Jackie was a Manhattan guy, very proud to be a Manhattan guy. The outside boroughs were like a step down. And Manhattan people, it's Manhattan. That's the way you feel. Manhattan was the city, the place to go.
Yeah.
And Jackie was Sicilian. He was not Napolitan. He was not anywhere else in Italy. He was this proud, staunch Sicilian Palermitani. So just in case there's a lot of stuff out there, misinformation, I just wanted to clear that up on those two issues. And Jackie's father didn't come from lineage.
That was one of my questions. That was one of my questions I was going to ask you.
I stole one.
Someone asked that. Does he have any lineage in the life?
Zero. No uncles, no cousins, no father. His father was an electrician. Legit guy. And did not like that Jack was hanging around First Avenue by the Roberts when he was young. But that's where Jackie grew up. So here I am. Let's go, RJ. I'll take yours and everybody, Patreon family's questions.
I guess something I always wonder. If you look at any two photos of John, one of them has Jackie somewhere around. Like you said, he wasn't an aggressive guy. He was kind of like the counterbalance to John in many ways. He was like if you flip John in half, like flip John's personality, you land at Jackie in many ways. But and again, he's not a lineage guy. He wasn't a big earner. He was just what he was. there with John every day. Where did that marriage come together? That bond, like that's what I always wonder. Like, what brought them two together to be so close? Where he was there, in your testimony, you talked about how you wanted to go to the trial with and Jackie said no, stay in the back. Don't catch all this heat, but I'll be there. Saying he's telling you, Michael, stay away because it's too much press, too much heat, too much exposure. But I'll be there. So saying I'm going to take that, but I can't have you. I don't want to have you there taking that. So where did that come together?
So with that, he wanted to protect everybody around him. He didn't mind the spotlight standing next to John. That was his loyalty. He was with him beginning to end, in time-wise in the day, and loyalty. So how that transforms into Jackie's personality, it didn't matter. Time, no loyalty mattered with Jack. It was all about John. Now, after Mr. Lilo dies, who was the skipper who straightened him out, and when the books first opened, it was using probably the second or third batch, Jack, because they made batches right away at that time. Lilo dies, and Frankie DeCicco's alive at that time. And they're thinking about who they're gonna. Well, Lilo died later on. Lilo was incapacitated, and they were thinking about when Lilo dies, who do we put there? And Jackie wasn't on that list. Was not on that list. Matter of fact, Frankie was not happy with Jackie DeCicco. There was some beefs about that. Could get into now's not the time and the place for it. But there was a little beef, and then Frankie held him accountable. Something. Really nothing. As time went on, it would have been over. But Paulie Zach was a huge debt. He was in our crew. He wasn't a fit. Because Frankie DeCicco took me on this walk and says, who do I put there? I can't put Zach. And he loves Zach. They know each other decades. And I said, I can't put it. This guy's got too many debts. I'll be embarrassed. We'll have to be sitting down with every family with monies. And then there was Nicky Martino, who goes way back. His father, just like Zach's family, way back to Sicily. Tano Longo was his father. He was also in that crew, Lilo's crew, which was my grandfather's crew going way back. And Nicky had an issue with his daughter, with a guy, and it was married. And another story I'll tell another time. But Nicky got knocked off the list. So it wasn't too many people left in that crew to put. Now, it wasn't a matter of breaking up the crew because, like I said, that crew was the oldest crew in the country, from what I was told. And if you could trace it back, it just about was the oldest ongoing crew in the country. It was ongoing, not the oldest, the eldest, but the most consistent that was still there.
Wasn't that your grandfather's crew?
Yeah, going way back.
Jimmy, just so everyone knows, Michael's grandfather, Vincenzo DiLeonardo, was a captain in that. I think he was a captain under D'Aguila in that crew. And I always say the importance that crew's older than some families, many families in this country. I think that crew goes back. Well, I ain't gonna get into all the history right now. It's a Jackie show, but yes, that is a very important. If they never, I don't know what that status of that crew is still, but that crew is a lineage crew. That crew goes back to the beginning of the Gambino family.
That's true. So Jackie's name comes up, and Mr. Lito loved Jackie. There was a difference. Lito hated Paulie, has beefs, and he loved Jack. Jack took care of him, took him to doctors. Say we like with his relationship with John. Jackie like older guys, like elderly in that life. He respected them, and he liked young guys coming up to try to teach him and hang out and have a good time. Jackie had a very young mind. He was a very young-minded guy. He didn't want to be in that middle stale range where everybody goes like this with the tie and plays the role. He wasn't that guy. He was a loosey-goosey guy. So Jackie was hanging out with Joe Butch a lot. They're from the same area, around Mulberry Street. And they shared some mutual friends. And Joe Butch started to push for Jack with John. And that Joe Butch has to have credit for pushing Jackie next to John. John conceded and made Jack a skipper. So now what happens John being John, and Jackie being Jackie, before they would walk up to the Ravenite or go to the Ravenite, Jackie would go by Tarabina Restaurant or by Joe Butch's Club or the cafe and wait for Joe Butch. And they would just walk up several blocks to go to the Ravenite together. So after some time, John noticing this, says, I made this guy, I'm thinking for John now, right? I made this guy a captain. And here he shows up waiting for another captain, and they're walking together. So John tells them both one day, what is this, captain with a captain? And that ended that marriage real fast. So, not that Jackie was disloyal to Joe Butch, but Jackie got the message, and so did Joe Butch, that Jackie's his own man. And release the umbilical cord or the obligation to Joe Butch, and you show up over here on your own. You got your own crew. He has his crew. So what happens? John starts to find out Jackie has personality. He's not an earner, but he has a personality. Jackie's a dancer. He likes to dance, and a good dancer. He's an old school dancer, foxtrot guy. Lindy could do Lindy. He did it all. I seen him dance. He was very good. And he had a personality. He was always laughing. Jackie always had a smile and super obedient. Jackie told me one time, Michael, it took me 5 years to realize I was a wise guy. Yeah, because that's how common he was. That's how he didn't play that role. Put the tie up here and sit, make your hat, what they call ace deuce, from one side to the other, tilted this way. Jackie used to call these guys, yes, ace deuce. And we would laugh. We would goof on guys coming in the club or something like just between him and I, and we have some giggles. So John realized he had a personality in Jack and somebody could hang out with. And after he gets annoyed with Bobby and Iggy driving him around, he appoints Jack to be his driver. And Jack lived and breathed with John every day. That's why you see him every picture, every time. Jack lived in New Jersey. He had an apartment in Manhattan also, and traveled all around. And Jackie made his way to the Ravenite on every night of the week, unless he went to pick up John, which he basically did during the week, maybe 3-4 days a week at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock in the morning by the Bergen, and then brought him to Manhattan. Or he had other guys driving John at times. But Jackie was the main guy with John because he could trust him the most. So that's how that formulated that relationship.
Now, my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is Jackie was really like the linchpin that kind of brought you and Senior's relationship a little closer. And even, I know when you were trying to get straightened out, Jackie came to you and said, John don't see you, John don't know you. Is that kind of how, or you can correct me, but I thought I read something before where you hadn't, like Jackie was telling you, you gotta be here, you could be here every day. John has to know you, John has to see you.
Yeah. I started again. It was through Paulie Zach, of course, and then Mr. Lilo proposed with me on the Paul Castellano. So, before I got straightened out, I got to know Jackie probably better than John did at that time, early on, because I was meeting with Jack in the 70s, which brings me back to his past when he first gets straightened out, and I'm already getting proposed, like I said, in the 70s, in the later 70s. And Jackie was always around restaurants. He had a very, very good friend who loved Jackie, and Jackie loved him, Carlo Beccarezza. He's the one that opened up the Noi restaurant. And that was John's restaurant, and he had several partners in there. And Jackie and Carlo were like this. I think they had the English pub together. They had something going on there. Rusty Stobbs was a baseball player. They were involved in there. There was an Italian restaurant. The name escapes me. But we would go there. That was Jackie's restaurant, this Italian restaurant. And we would go there with the whole crew once a week, or another restaurant that Jack would pick. Jack would pick the restaurants in Manhattan that we would meet at. And that's why I got to know Jack. And I got to like Jack at that time. He liked young guys. And I was a young guy in the crew that was ready to get straightened out. So Jackie knew I was going to get made. I was going to be his equal. at that time. So when I opened up my fruit store in 84, 85, right? He would come from New Jersey and come up to my store, 127 2nd Avenue. Come hang out with me. And again, we just formulated a bond. So during the course, when he gets in there now, he becomes the captain. If DiLeonardo dies, now it's like, come on, Michael, let's go. John wants to see you more and more. He wants to see you around. Of course, yes. So he did push for me that way.
And you said before that one time John had said flip flop.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Jackie knew about this or anything. So I asked this question for a reason, because I'm trying to get a dial in a little bit more on Jackie's personality. You told me before there's a lot of personalities in that life. Politicking, people will sense a threat, politic against it to be able to reposition themselves. Did Jackie ever seem to feel like he had that kind of stuff make him treat you different or become worried about you or look at you as a threat to his position? Or
no, I'll tell you, Jack, it brings to mind some of the things Jackie would say as he, older guys, as guys got older, he would say, come on, get up, make room for fresh players. In other words, you're sitting at a table playing cards, fresh players. The guy's a little stale, he's losing. Come on, get up, let's get a new guy playing this game. And he meant that in life too, in that life. He knew the older guys had their expiration date, let's say, as how viable and how important they could be in that life, So he had nothing about holding guys back. I guess that's where you're going. No, he put me and other younger guys to the forefront. It was between, I'll give you a spread, me to Frank Cali. Okay, that's how much the time frame was there from the 70s to when Frankie gets straightened out. Because Jackie and I pushed for Frank to get straightened out when we wind up with 18th Avenue. That's something we could chronologically get down to later on in this video. But yes, that's what Jack did. He promoted. You need new blood. You got to let the younger guys do it. He knew it was about the younger guys that you had to groom.
All right. Well, we got a bunch of questions that came in. I'm gonna try to ask as many as I can possibly ask, and any that we can't get to, we will hold them and get them on the next live. Michael, let's see. I would like to know if you had any communication with Jackie after you flipped. If you did, what was his opinion, and was there negative effects towards Jackie after you flipped?
Okay, the answer is going to be no. And for two things. It's going to be no because it is no, and it'll be no because I wouldn't betray even if he's dead. So it's always going to be no about me talking or thinking about me talking. So I'm avoiding your question with that answer, but it's no. I never talked to him, and if I did, it's still no. I compromised my honor and my oath at one time. I'm never going to do that again to people that right now, especially that would jeopardize their reputation. I don't think it would jeopardize their lives at all today. If somebody talked to me or found out they were being talked to, I'm talking about Weiss guy. Associates, that nobody really cares who talks to the associate anymore. If they talk to me, I think that's all long gone. But a maid guy, I would never, ever, even if he's dead, give that up. So,
when the administration stopped sending you money, did you reach out to Jackie at all? And if so, how did he respond?
No, I didn't reach out specifically to Jack. I reached out to George DeCicco and some other people out there that say what's going on with my money, what's going on with I wasn't getting 5 cents. So I never heard back directly from Jack or anybody. Only one I ever heard back directly from was George DeCicco and the message about being on the shelf, and Huck sending messaging back and forth. But no, I don't know who did what. I know a few guys that did try to stick up for me, and they were shot down real hard, skippers. But Jackie's name wasn't one of them. I'm sure he did mention, what are you doing? It's a mistake.
Now, there's some confusion out there, so I'm asking this question, and maybe we can just put some color around it. Jackie went to jail a little late in his life. And did your cooperation with the government have any effects or contribute to him going to jail? Or my understanding is no, you never testified against Jackie. You didn't really, and my understanding is to a certain extent, you actually helped Jackie's Weiss murder case probably more than you probably could have hurt him at all. So maybe you can.
Yeah, well, Jackie was arrested when I was off the street for other crimes, whatever that indictment reads. I never read the indictment, but whatever those crimes read after the fact, they also threw in the Weiss murder. Don't forget, Jackie was already arrested in '99 with Junior. He already had case. The new boss of the Gambino crime. Scores case. So I got nothing to do with that. And then later on, when I flipped, he gets arrested with I think the Old Bridge case or one of the other cases. And those charges I got nothing to do with. Again, I'm not, this is not an excuse. If somebody could say I had no crimes with him at that time, I was off the street. Yeah, but the Weiss thing is peculiarly interesting. In all my material, I say Jack wanted no part of it. After we got the message from Joe Watts, from John Sr., and we were outside Dom's club, Jackie even says, after Joe Watts tells me, not Jack, that he had to be involved in the murder, Jackie was not asked to be part and parcel any way, shape, or form with that murder. He was just a witness to hearing Joe give me an order and Fat Dom an order from the boss. After we leave, Jackie tells me, you got to sneeze again?
No, I was going to get I have your testimony, 2 copies of it, but I was going to get it out in case we needed it. But I have your testimony where you say exactly, almost verbatim how you're talking right now, but I have it where you say Jackie had nothing to do with it. So
yeah, Jackie was
just a guy who was just largely just happened to be just standing around, kind of essentially, right?
Yeah, 100. Matter of fact, I think part of his withdrawal would have been this. He says, Michael, I'll go to John and I'll get you off it. I said, no, Jackie can't do that. Can't do that. Don't worry about it. You know. But Jackie was not happy that I was being part of that murder. Again, we got along. Jackie had me almost like a son with him at that point. We were very close. And he thought he'd be protecting me. But meanwhile, he would have stepped on a landmine if he would have done that for the 2 of us. But his intentions were good. So I would have testified to that at trial. If he went to trial on the Weiss thing, he definitely would have got acquitted. Because my testimony would have been Jack wanted nothing to do with this. So there's another story out there that we did a little show on where that guy, Sir lied a lot about Jack. And that, again, another thing that he did about Jack and abused Jackie there in his show was despicable. And Jackie didn't deserve that from him, especially a guy in his position where Jackie stood up and went to prison several times. So, again, I don't want to go there. But everything that guy said about Sammy said about Jack, except for John abusing Jack at certain times, is true. That part. The rest of it is bullshit.
What's your favorite moment with Jackie? Nothing about putting in work or anything. Just a genuine moment that sticks with you today.
Yeah, when I got straightened out. How proud he was. He was very, very proud. I might have been the first guy straightened out. I have to think about it. But I think I'm the first guy straightened out.
Did Jackie have any funny jokes or things he did to make the guys laugh?
Oh yeah, he wasn't a stand-up comic per se. Like I got a joke for you. It's mannerisms, it's wittiness, it's in the moment, spontaneous, ad-libbing. You know, it's all about that. The camaraderie, you play off each other. Jackie was very funny. He was very good to hang around with. Matter of fact, he would call everybody. He liked when he found Brooklyn after the Christopher Columbus one. He found certain diners and would call everybody, or my friends, or my guys, or other guys, and we'd go hang out in the diner. So when I would be on the phone, somebody would call me and say, "Jackie wants you." I would say, "Okay, where?" He's at the diner. I would hang up. I go see my friend. His name is not Jackie no more on the phone. It's not Christopher Columbus anymore. It's Dinah. I don't know. Everybody said Dinah wants to see you. All right, I go to the diner. So he had two names for me.
Can you explain a little bit? Because like one thing that you did, you know, I say this all the time. I looked at one of the things that we shifted on our channel that wasn't just the dynamics between Senior and Sammy, but also, you know, there was a lot out there before. Like Junior was largely like the dumb fella thing rang true throughout the genre. Like he was just like a laughing stock, his daddy's toy, and you really put a lot of color on what Junior actually represented. But one thing you told me about Jackie is at first he was just kind of like, you know, John would say, you know, John needed him to be out front more, filtering problems for him out there, you know, for putting a buffer between him and everybody coming to him all the time. And you said he was just a nice guy, and people knew that about him. And you used to say to him, "Jackie, tell that guy," then, you know, I'll let you tell your own story. But then you told me as time down the line, especially after Senior was off the street, Jackie changed a little bit, and he started to get a little bit more into his element, be a little bit more aggressive, so maybe you can explain some of how he might have changed in time and became a little bit more comfortable with the position that he was in.
Yeah, John wanted Jackie. After a while, you could hear the tapes. John was getting inundated with people coming to him, and John wouldn't chase anybody away. He entertained everybody, but that wasn't supposed to be that all the captains were always on top of a boss. That one, it's overwhelming, all the information. You know, you have to have somebody delegate and a buffer, let's say, in the middle. And John would tell Jack, "You're Tommy Bellotti. Don't you get it?" In other words, talk to these captains. But the captains, they didn't respect Jackie in that manner. They didn't respect him because he was a late coming captain. Jackie always had that persona of being a happy-go-lucky guy. He didn't have that persona as, you know, a killer or a very serious guy, a guy who put your ass on the carpet. That wasn't Jackie. So it took Jack a while to start getting comfortable with who and what he was. And that led to the flip-flop. John didn't think Jackie was strong enough to be a skipper. And I told that story, what I did in respect to that. But then John was getting a lot of poison from some of these captains about Jack. And Jack was like pissed off because guys were making silly beefs over rib business and water business and all of that. So I told Jackie, "Why don't you just tell this guy to go fuck himself? Shut you fuck him out. Bite this guy," you know? And Jackie didn't have him in him. He wasn't that type of guy. And as time went on, John was off the street. Jackie started to realize who and what his position was now. Because being on the committee, he really had to excel. He really had to get up front. He was dealing with other families, the Colombo family, West Side, Lucchese, every family. He was dealing with everybody in one shape or form, you know. So he really had to assert himself. I guess the word is he needed to, and he did. He started to, and I credit Junior for that too. I give Junior credit for that. You know, in the street. When John was around, was sitting in the Noise restaurant, John and Carlo's restaurant, and Jackie's also in Manhattan. And they had a little bar when you first walked in, and all the guys would be eating over there. And I would usually go to the bar and have a drink and just hang around. And there was a lot of talent walking in and out. So I used to stay by the door. And Jackie comes over to me one night, feeling great. And he goes, "I got Jimmy Brown in my pocket." And I look at him, I go, "You got Jimmy Brown in your pocket?" "Yeah. He'd do anything for me." "Jack, you don't have Jimmy Brown in your pocket. Don't fall for that shit. He's painting you." You know, so many words, you know. whatever it is, Jimmy's got motive, whatever you do. But Jimmy knew his proximity to John and the influence that he could have. So whatever Jimmy played nice with Jackie, he was using Jack. And Jackie really thought that, Jimmy was his best friend at this point. No, that ain't happening. But that's how he was a people person. RJ, see, like yourself, you have a belief in human beings, a belief in people you care about, that they're always going to do the right thing or feel the same way you feel. Jackie always felt everybody being brothers would always do the right thing or feel the same way about him as he does about them, which is not the case in that life. Some people want to be you, and at your expense sometimes to undermine you. And that's where the story goes. A lot of people try to undermine Jack, and they did get in John's ear wrongly about Jack. And like I said, John realized that after he was off the street, who Jackie was really to him, his friend, a loyal friend. It wasn't about being the toughest guy in the street. It was about what was loyal to him. And John realized that too late.
Yeah, that's one thing that from how you explain it, Jackie and John's relationship and how it looked just visually from what we all got to see. I'm not a believer that personally that there's a lot of huge I don't think anybody really has 10 friends. You might have 10 people who you call your friend, but we have very few people in our life that really, when we're hurting, they're hurting. Sometimes your friends almost he has a little bit of a smirk at you, something bad happened to you, sometimes a little bit of envy and stuff. But I would think in Cosa Nostra, I sometimes wonder how can you really ever have a real bond friendship where your closest friend, if they ever have to come, if the boss has to take you, he's going to call your friend because he's close with you. So how can you ever, and you can explain it better than me, but just me being a theorist, I would say, if you're my best friend, we both took the same oath, I wonder, I know what they're going to do when they come for me. They're going to go to you. And you have an oath that you have to respond. So I sometimes wonder, how can you bond very close with a person who has to and will if called? But it does seem like John was that Jackie, from what you said before to me, is if Jackie could have been in the same cell as John, he'd have been happy.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think that there's a lot of people around John that say, I love you, John, but was Jackie one of the few people? Because I know Joe Watts was around him also a lot with John every day, but do you think that Jackie was one of the very few people around John that it was sincere? Like, it was a sincerity. It wasn't just, I have an opportunity by being close to the boss, I'm going to exploit it for my own gain.
No question. Jackie was that sincere. No question. I told you what he said, and I said, what? How could another guy say that about a guy? He says, if he shit on the plate, John ripped him one day, and he said, I love this guy so much. If he shit on the plate, I eat it. And I go, what? How the fuck you say that? But it was a point of, he was a metaphor for what he was trying to say, his loyalty to John. He was crushed by how he abused him, and that led up to the flip-flop stuff. But, that would have hurt me. I never would have wanted that position, as I stated in that story, because of that. Jackie did not deserve it. He was not a bad captain. He was not a bad soldier. He was not disloyal to John.